Hello, I've been thrashing this little mini quad for a few months now, and I've got to say I really like it. This is by far the favorite of all the mini quads I've had so far, and it's starting to show signs of wear though. None of these pillars that are supposed to be straight are straight anymore, and they keep coming loose a little bit. And the front of it's starting to look like the bottom of a lawnmower with grass and everything in there. It still flies alright though, but I'm thinking about maybe doing a rebuild using the parts of this and trying something a little bit different, which I came across on Banggood recently. It's called the GE220, and this is the page, the Banggood page. I'll put in the link in the description for this. And it's a 220 size frame, and it's got very chunky 5mm arms. And this is something that I've been sort of interested in trying. I was thinking about perhaps making something like this myself, that is sort of everything stacked up on top of itself in the middle to keep the center of mass as close to the center of the whole frame as possible for, basically it requires less energy to spin it around. So it should also be easier to tune than having a longer mass, or what do you call it? Center of mass? Body of inertia? No, what is it? Distribution of mass, I think is what I'm talking about. Yeah, if you have the distribution of mass more in one axis than the other, like we do normally, we have the longer plates in the pitch direction, then it sort of unbalances the tuning a little bit as well. So my theory is that this will be a little bit easier to tune and get it flying nicely. So I got hold of one of these. Oh, and this other web page here, by the way, this was just the page, the link that's on the top of the thing there, GEFPV. Why doesn't this focus? Anyway, that link there, I thought I'd just have a look at that for fun, and it kind of looks like this company is they kind of specialize in making rip-offs of other well-known frames by the looks of it. As you can see, there's a couple there. I'm sure you've seen those somewhere else already. So either they make those for Vortex, or they get the plans from somewhere and build their own, or I don't know how it works, but looks like they do have some other original ones as well, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see some of these turning up on Banggood or something in the future. There's some motors I haven't seen there too. Interesting. Anyway, so let me open this up and see what pieces we have inside. Alright, this is what was inside the kit. No instructions, of course, but shouldn't be too hard to figure out just going from the photos. So as well as the carbon fiber plates, there is a 3D printed bracketing kind of a thingy, and a couple of other 3D printed washers, I guess you might call them. And I hope they don't break or get lost too easily, because they're a little bit of a strange thing that I'm not sure how easy it would be to replace. But if they were lost, yeah, kind of stuck, I think. So there's no spares either. There's quite a large number of screws and standoffs, and let me just check if one of these standoffs is 5mm as well. Just pop one of those out. Yep, that looks like the same width as there, which is going to become important, I think, in a minute. Yeah, so that can't see very well. But this is 5mm thick because the arms are 5mm thick. They are, yep, 5mm, quite chunky. And this carbon fiber that they're made of is fairly nice, actually. A little bit nicer than I was expecting. One thing I did notice though is that, if you can see my finger there, it's got black powder on it. So that, fingernails were dirty already, but the powder on my skin there is coming off this kit, so hopefully that's not going to be a problem. But the carbon fiber that they're made of is quite nice, actually, better than I was expecting. I'm not a huge carbon fiber connoisseur really, but it's not as good as the Armatan carbon fiber that I've seen, but it's not far behind, and it's a lot better than at least what I remember from the Diatone number 37 carbon fiber frame, which is the only other carbon fiber one I've had. That was kind of a cheap looking, super glossy finish on that frame, but this doesn't have quite the same glossiness to it. So those are 5mm. These upright pieces are 2mm thick, so they are also fairly chunky. And then the other pieces are 1.5mm thick. And there's only 2 standoffs in the kit, which is rather less than what I'm used to. Usually have lots of those. So to put it together, you obviously, one of these is the base, and then you just put that on, put all the arms on like that. And fortunately this 3D printed piece is exactly the right height, or the same height as there, so that means that everything will be able to be clamped down securely when the screws go in. So that's going to be on there. Bit of a problem with this, I noticed. And so the way these work is they go into little tabs in the bottom, will go in there, and they stand up like that, and then you have the standoffs going between them like that. Now this here is the problem. Let's see if I can show you this properly. It's got a little sort of a tab with a indentation in it on the side there. That indentation needs to be 2mm wide because it has to go on one of these plates like this. So if you see that circle with the cutaway out the side of it, this piece is supposed to go in there. See if I can keep all this in focus at the same time. So it's supposed to go in there like that and then turn. So it's got to turn like that, but it can't. It's getting stuck there. So the idea is that if it was thick enough, you'd be able to turn it around, and then the tab at the other end. Let's see if we can get all this. Need to get some light on here because we can't see anything otherwise. Anyway, there's a tab at the other end, so you should be able to swing this around anywhere along there and put it into one of those other holes like that, for example. But I can't do it because that little cutaway is not thick enough. So I think I'm going to have to get my Dremel and just widen that little gap there so that it is 2mm wide, and then we'll be able to fit it in. So that was one problem, and then I think there was another problem too. What was that? Oh, maybe that's it. Okay. The power distribution board is quite a nice one in my opinion. You can put your XT60 on that side, and it's the standard size for is it 35 or 36mm square flight controller boards like the Flip 32, and the holes are the standard 30.5mm spacing. I think you're going to have to space that up a little bit from here, otherwise you run the risk of having all this stuff around here touching onto the carbon fiber plate, which would be the top one, would be that one. So as you can see, there's going to be, let me just see if I can hold this a bit better. So you can see the holes are going to go on there like that. So unless you put something in between them, you're going to have the plate, the pads potentially touching on the carbon fiber on the bottom, but that's pretty easy to get around. The other thing, of course, you're going to have to watch out for is that your XT60, which goes on there, is going to be directly above some more carbon fiber on the bottom, and you don't want that touching either. So once you put your XT60 in, you may just have to sand it off or cut it away a little bit so that it's kind of flat, because I found that when I put an XT60 in and solder it, then it has a little bit sticking out the side, out the back, so I might have to cut them off. Other than that, it's a pretty nice little board. Looks great. What else? Oh, let's have a look at this. So on these side bits that stand up, you can see I've gouged a little bit out of that in the indentation, trying to turn it. I thought if I just turned it, if I forced it, it might be able to turn around, but it didn't. It just sort of took a chip out of the side of there. Anyway, this hole here is for your video transmitter plug to go out, and it's just the right size for that. So it fits in there nicely, but this 2mm thickness of plate is not going to be enough to hold it in there just by having the other side screwed on. So you're going to have to find another way of, I guess you could put something behind it, maybe a bit of a washer to raise it away a little bit. It only needs about 1 millimeter extra, and then it would stick in there solidly. Right, there was, I'm pretty sure there was another problem with these plates that I was going to mention. Oh, is that it? Yeah, actually it's just this plate. This one plate has all the problems. So the other problem is that, as well as being not wide enough in that hole there, the other tab at the end, the other end at the top there, yep, so there's, see the little bit tab sticking out, that is supposed to go into one of these holes in the arc around there, like this. Well, it would be like that. But again, doesn't go in. So, oh, it might. Oh, I apologize. It does go in. Sorry. Oh yeah, it fits in very nicely actually. Okay, never mind about that then. That works fine. Yeah, it just needs a little bit of persuasion. And now it is in there quite nicely. There we go. So that's good. All right. So it's just the gap there that needs to be fixed. All right. So I might go out to the garage and do a bit of dremeling on this, and then come back and try and put it together. All right. There we go. I've just ground a little bit out of the inside of that tab, so that now it is just wide enough to accept this 2 millimeter plate from below, like that. If you do find yourself needing to do this, you only need to take a tiny little bit off. It's probably easy to go too far and make it sort of loose and wobbly, but fortunately I think I should be okay. So that's one side in there, so that's how it would sit. Right, now I think I should be able to put it all together properly, so let me do that. I think I might just go and wash my hands first. I wiped all these plates down to get the dust off them. Now I want to wash my hands as well. Okay, I just got the main part of the frame together, and I gotta say, this is a really chunky, sturdy kind of frame, which unfortunately makes it 100 grams just like that. I suppose you could make an acro quad out of that, couldn't you? But yeah, I guess that's mostly because of the 5 millimeter arms. By the way, I went down to see Bruce Almighty the other day, and he showed me his MXP230 that he loves so much, which has 6 millimeter arms. It's crazy, but he reckons it's really cool. Anyway, on with the show. Almost there. I didn't use the 4 screws that they included, which I presume are supposed to be used to put the flight controller board and the power distribution board on from the bottom like that. I just thought I'd rather use plastic ones instead, just to save a little bit of weight. But they did include them with the kit, of course. Right now I think I'm going to have to break out the Dremel again, because this little piece that's on the side, I just get this off. So this is supposed to come up from below and screw into there, and these two little 3D printed things have a space for the lock nuts to go in, so you just put those in there like that. They fit in there fairly nicely, but they seem to be too tall in that direction, up and down, because it's pretty much impossible to get them into the gap that they're supposed to go into there. So this one is just not going to do it. So I think what I'm going to have to do is sand a bit off the bottom of these 3D printed parts. So back outside again. Okay, after a little bit of sanding off the bottom of these 3D plastic pieces, they fit in there nice and snugly now, so that's how the hole should be, right in the middle of that frame piece. Having a bit of trouble with focus today, aren't we? Everything being black. There we go. Okie dokie, there it is, all built up, and a very nice little slick looking frame it is, I think. Quite small, like just sort of, not really fits on your hand size, but it's, you know, not very big. Oh, it is 224 millimeters in size, and the weight. I actually have the PDB and a flip 32 on there, so maybe take off a few grams for that. But we're looking at 146 grams there. Keep in mind I didn't use these steel screws that they give you to put the flight controller on. In fact, they probably weigh about the same as the flip 32 does anyway, but even with them it's, let's see, 151. So for the size, it's slightly heavier than other frames of this size, I guess, but then again you do have these really chunky arms on it. And I have 13 lock nuts left over for some reason. No idea where I'm supposed to use those. There's just one thing I think is a little bit odd. I used the standoffs that they give you. They only gave you two. I used one at the top and one in the middle here. And there's also a hole at the bottom front of the front plate that you could use for another one there, so I might find another one and put one on there just to keep it all really nice and tight. These are 40mm standoffs, by the way, not 37 as you might find on most other frames, so you might find yourself a little bit stuck if you thought you were going to use one of the ones that you had lying around from another frame. Okay, so you may be wondering, is it really possible for a 220 size frame to spin 6-inch props? So let's put a motor on here and we'll see how close it comes to hitting itself. So I just put one motor on to check this, and we can see that it's okay, but boy is it close. I'd say there's about 2 millimeters maybe. But that's fine, it'll work as long as there's more than 0 millimeters. Well, that's even closer. Is this in the center? I'm pretty sure I put that in the right place, but yeah, that's fine. And presumably the back is the same distance because this plate in the bottom was made to be put around whichever way, doesn't matter. So that should be, yeah, that's fine. And the other important thing to keep in mind is how tall it is, and it's about 30, come on, about 32 millimeters in height. So depending on how tall your motors are, you're going to have to be a bit careful about that. So that's, oh, that's only 28, so that's fine. And that's giving me about that much room there. No trouble. So I think most motors of the size that you're going to be using with a quad like this will be fine. Anyway, that's going to do it for this first look. I really like it so far. And the only thing I don't really like a whole lot is the fact that you're going to have to stick your battery on the bottom. And oh, I took this off, but it might be a little bit awkward to get it in here now, but there is a nice little battery strap there, which is, let's see, what is that? Yeah, it's just under, oh, it's about 23 millimeters wide, so it should be able to fit most of the that size strap just nicely. And it's 34, or hang on, 36. 38. So it's 38 millimeters across, which is obviously made for this distance there on most batteries, so that's going to fit in there just beautifully. Yep, no problem. Right. Anyway, yeah, so I'll build this up sometime in the near future and take it for a fly. Thanks for watching. Oh, just a few other points while I'm here. This little plate here is obviously for your video transmitter and fits in there very nicely. And if I hold this to where it's going to be pulled if you screwed something on there, there's, maybe able to see, it's about 1.5 millimeters, maybe 2 millimeters of clearance, which is probably going to be just right to put some double-sided foam tape on there. The sides here, you'll notice that they're completely blocked off along the bottom, which means two things. One is that you're going to have to put your USB connector on the front or the back. So this is going to be, yeah, that's the front. You could also put it on the back, but actually no, you probably can't because your XT60 is going to be sticking up here. So yeah, you're pretty much stuck with having your USB connector on the front. So you might have to rearrange the your settings in your Clean Flight or whatever flight controller software you're using. And the other thing that I was going to say was, oh yeah, because it's blocked off here, the power leads coming in from your ESC here can't go into there. So all of this side of the power distribution board is going to be kind of awkward to use. So yeah, on the front it's actually not too bad because there are 4 pads along the front of the PDB there, which we can't see because it's too dark, but they're right in there, and they're plus minus plus minus, or plus minus minus plus. So it's just nice. At the back though, there's actually nothing because the XT60 connection thingy is there. So that's a little bit less convenient. So yeah, it's just a little bit awkward, I think, to get these back power wires into the PDB. Still shouldn't be a huge deal. What else was I going to say? Oh yeah, I knew there was something else I was going to say. Here it is. So for those of you that have one of these cameras, you may be interested to know that it fits in there just nicely. There is probably about not quite 2 millimeters of clearance, but it fits in there pretty well apart from that. So I'm actually thinking I might do away with the board cam on the front and just use this as my FPV camera, because I did a little bit of checking with it today and it works pretty well. So that should keep the weight down and also keep the center of mass, or the distribution of mass, lower, because if I was using this normally, it would be up on top like that, whereas if I'm using it as the actual camera, the flight camera, it can be inside there like that a little bit more. We'll see though. Not sure if that's going to work out. Alright, now I think I'm finished. See ya.